So this shot is actually one of the best, in my opinion. It's very high detail in what it comes to layout, and it also has some very cool effects, as you can see. Let's watch it one more time. Smoke effects going from the left to the right, the smoke here, the falling debris, the hole, the wall, etc. So let's begin. The first place where we need to have a look at is the wall, how the wall was made. So using the same tool we used before, we created this wall reference. This wall reference was edited and we used this shape as a reference to the deletion. What I made is I just deleted this shape and I have this boolean, which is roughly what I want, and then I grabbed again this transformation. I edited somehow, so from camera it looks something like this. So it's like in set, I did a VDB, I converted it, I unwrapped the UV so we can have something. I picked everything. I did a mountain. This mountain is very interesting because I use different values. And basically, everything here is like crunched for the walls. So at the top is very pointy, and at the left side is like it has these vertical lines. I converted it back again into BDBs. I converted it back again into polygons, and I deleted everything. Then with the line, I created the wall roughly where I need it. So if I use this reference, it's roughly at the same spot because I didn't want this boolean, which was brought to me on the cache. So this is okay. And I split again this. I split this shape, which is the only one I want to do a boolean, like a hole in the wall. And I used what I created before for the wall. So far, so good, super easy, very simple, and I merge these things together. Then with the wrangle, I say, hey, if you are inside, you're going to have this value. So if I am looking at the inside faces, this is how it looks. Very nice, right? So, but we still need to do a couple of more things because I want to rake, I want to chip, and I want to do some chipping on the walls. So what it is to add a frustum to make it faster, and I also boolean this with my previous walls. So I have the side which doesn't have any calculations, and I have the side which I will be calculating. Now that I see, I should have done the following. We have these two separate pieces of wall. So I'm having this wall, which is BDB, and I'm reshaping it to make it a little bit larger. I'm also adding a little bit of noise. This noise is just a turbulent noise with a feed set from 0 to 1 to -1 to 1. So it's like center, the noise is center. So this is the resolution, is 500,000 voxels, and I convert this to BDB. It will create a somewhat of a strange shape, which luckily it like interpenetrates with our original shape, as you can see here, here, or here. And this will be clever for firstly UV transfer with the labs UV transfer. So now everything has the same UVs. And when I boolean this back together, I will be having these holes in the wall. Thinking about this in a better way, I should have used more padding for example. Let's say 1.6, so it's a little bit larger. Now, if we merge everything together, we should be having this wall and the rest of this wall. So look how they match together nicely. Perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. Now that we saved, if we save this into disk, this is how it looks. This is the previous one. This is the new one. As you can see, I just enlarged it a little bit. In fact, I'm going to do a new version. There we go. If we split this, we're going to have the outside wall and the inside wall. which in this case, we are not really going to be using, but it was for a previous setup. So this is the wall. Once we have the wall, we then are going to go into our effects. In this case, I am having this wall, which is the old version, remember? This is not the one we did right now, but an old version. I'm going to split all the points that I want, which are all that are outside, as you can see. I'm going to do a pirate shape. This is just a collide. It's just a collision shape. There's nothing else going on here. And right here is another pirate shape, which the only thing that I'm doing, which we should be aware of, is that I'm grabbing my geometry and then I'm adding a little bit of noise. This is the only thing I'm doing. Is the equivalent of this tool, which or at least the only options I'm using here would be to do the following: do an is offset, calling this density, adding more resolution, like let's say 40, and then on top of this, a volume noise follow, and multiplying this. If we add more element size and add a little ramp, this is what we get. As you can see, it's pretty similar because it's actually the same method. That's the only thing it's going on here. There's nothing else. So if we merge these guys together, we have something like this. And this, what I was aiming at is to have some smoke effects going on here. So we're going to have a collider. We're going to have two sinks, so the simulation doesn't go beyond these points. And if we go to frame 900 over here and we turn this on, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be pushing forwards. The smoke is going to get synced here and it's going to collide with the geometry. Something like this. The settings are very simple. It's just dissipation of 0.1, variance is 2, because I do have temperature here. But the buoyancy is, instead of going upwards, it's going to the positive set. So it's going that way on the left of my viewport. The disturbance is on 0.8 and 1.6, so the double. The same trick I always tell you guys, 1, 1, and turbulence is just on. I just like to have turbulence. And there's nothing else. What I'm going to be doing is to time shifting this simulation. So this is the frame I liked. This is what I want to have. This is a really nice trick because now that I have this shape, and again with the collider, what I can do is to use the same shapes, do a new and better simulation starting on frame 1001, animating the cache so it reads only for one frame with 4 velocity, and look on how this looks with even more resolution. Let's press play. See, it's moving a little bit, but it's staying overall where I want this to be. So what I did here is just animated this, and I did a little bit more disturbances, so it breaks up a little bit more with 0.8, 0.4, and 0.2, because right now I have more resolution to play with. But I didn't do anything else. I just dissipation 0.01 and buoyancy on 2, and buoyancy is doing exactly the same. But in this case, I just didn't use temperature. I just used density. So we could just turn off the buoyancy and I started using the gravity. So this is the first effect. Then I am using a box. This box is going to then be frustum. We're going to do a time shift and a pyro shape. In this case, the pyro shape is the same trick that I show you guys upwards here. And I use a density, like a way to add some extra noise. What we're going to be doing here is to add like a filler smoke going from the left to right. If you were to see all the effects, this is what we get. And this is just some filler smoke. Look at this, the resolution is not that big, and with low density, it's just something filler going on. It's like a random noise here and there of smoke, and a simple buoyancy going as again the same trick of the temperature, going from to the left side to X positive. The disturbance is the same. It's the same solver, but with a different buoyancy setting. It's the same as this one. So this is the filler. Then what I did here is, again, I added a box with some noise here, and I started emitting using this collider of the Titan. This is the moving Titan, and what I did is to start emitting at left and going to the right. So there is one little thing going on with the Titan. Let me check if I have it somewhere. It's here. So the only thing that changed is that, okay, it's not here. So this is the Titan with the animation. Everything is going properly. Let me just turn off the air so it's a little bit faster. There we go. So if I also use this as the grid collider, and I'm also using this shape as a sink, when I simulate everything with the same trick of the buoyancy going to the right and a little bit upwards, and the same disturbances as the other node, it's like 0.3, 1, and 0.25, so I can have big breakups, middle breakups, and smaller breakups with these settings, because this the speed of this simulation is a little bit faster. So I don't want to have the same disturbance all over the place. The dissipation is very, very slow, and the temperature is way higher with this division size. What I end up having is this. It's a simulation that goes from left to right, and with the proper lighting, it looks very cool. And finally, but not less important, in fact, it's very important, I'm having this box on very near the ground with this smoke. As you can see, I have more smoke at the right than at the left. This is done with a simple function. Let's say I have an ISO offset and I have 100 division size. This is density. And let's say I convert this into a BDB. So if I convert this into a BDB, then I can use volume wrangle or a volume pop. Both things can achieve the same. And if I go here and I grab the relative bounding box, this is something here, it's here, and convert this to BDB, density, this density. I need more resolution to 200. There we go. I needed more resolution. If I go into the volume box and I say, hey, give me the relative bounding box of this position of this object. And then I do the component, the separation of the components. Separate, what is component vector? Get component vector, this one. I can get the first component, which is the X, and I could multiply this with a ramp that has to be on spline, and this is the effect I'm going to have. When I go backwards, I can start messing up with this ramp, and if I have a noise on top of this, they would just get multiplied. And this is exactly what happened there. I multiply all my noises with this fall-off. These are very nice trick to have a good looking source, which is what everything is going here. It's just a noise with a fall-off, which is this one. Anyways, I then clipped it, so I have only what I need. Item shifted it, and I volume bop to add more detail, because I wasn't getting enough detail. It's just a turbulent noise. There's nothing else to it. Right here, I'm getting the collider. This was brought from Solaris. I'm going to show you later in this video how this was done, but it's just, I'm getting this geometry, I'm unpacking it, I'm freezing everything that I don't need, I'm shifting this because this is animated, and I'm blasting the points that I don't want. I'm unpacking this. This is the longest process because there's a lot of rocks. I'm poly extruding the ground, reversing the ground, BDB from polygons, and saving this to this. So this is my collider, merging these two guys together, and then saying, hey, Density should also be called temperature. And I will be using the same trick that I use here of the buoyancy. The buoyancy will be, in this case, going downwards. So I don't know, I could have used the gravity, but in this case, I used the buoyancy instead. This turbulency of 2.3, 0.2, this is 0.2, this is 2, and I have two turbulences. And remember, this is at default. I just didn't change anything. I just turned them on and changed the settings with low dissipation. And the same trick, I'm just for one frame, set this here, and the division size is 0.2 with a little bit of per roll. Instead of starting on frame 10.1, it started on frame 9080, so I can have more resolution, because this is a higher resolution than this. Yes, it's a little bit higher. And if I can shift this and I resample this, so I can have double the scale of the volume, I can then do another simulation on top of that with way more detail. As you can see, way more detail. It's like 8 times more detail, doing the same trick here. But in this case, I'm just having a wind, nothing else, just a wind set to 1. And this is how it looks. Let me show you. It's just this. Something very slowly moving from left to right. Nothing else. But it works. It works, to be honest. And if I merge everything, this is what I get. A bunch of smokes. Finally, let me just turn this off. Oh, this is disabled. Yes, everything is okay. So if I then move into the grains, I have a small setup where I have my wall. This is the old wall, not the new one, where I delete everything inside this bounding box. I delete everything right here with another bounding box. And then I set a group which is called spawn with this vector detection. I can enlarge it or not. I'm adding a mask. Let me show you the mask. This is how the mask looks. Then on top of that, I'm adding a multiplier to that mask. So as you can see, there are some small points here and there popping in and out, like this one right here. I'm going to be scattering right there. You will see everything is going to be turned off except for those points. Then with a wrangle, I'm just going to be having these points. With a blur, I'm going to blur them a lot. So they are going to be sticking together way more. I'm going to point replicate a lot, and with a noise, which is the same as this one, I'm going to reapply the noise, and I'm going to move this upwards based on the mask, the complement of the mask. I'm going to fuse all that I need so they don't overlap. I'm going to blur it a little bit more, so I'm having a line. I'm going to fuse them a little bit, and I'm going to use the trick with the unique IDs. Based on this, I don't want to simulate this. Based on this, I'm going to just add a simple vellum grains, and with a simple vellum solver set to this thickness, with this wind drag and absolutely nothing else. I disable this, and I also disable this because I don't need collisions with 6 steps, nothing else. I'm going to then calculate. Let me just go to frame 1000. Let's see if I have something. Yes, I'm going to calculate based on the PC find the density of the points. This is a good trick, which is shown like this. As you can see, I'm going to find how many points are in this radius and how many points I want to look for. The more points I have, the less I'm going to have density. I mean, the opposite. If I have more points nearby, I'm going to have more density. In this case, I'm just using this to delete everything that's far from the main blob of points, because this I want to have straight small lines. I'm setting these properties. I'm going to trail this. I can have even more. I'm going to add this. I'm going to resample this. I'm going to add a volume attribute, and I'm going to save this, guys. So this is my source. It's quite small. It could be even smaller. It could be even smaller, but from camera it's okay. It all depends on how it looks from camera, which is very small already. So where my main is 980 with 3 substeps, with only this velocity. I don't want much more. This dissipation, which is okay. It's a lot, but it's okay. And only the disturbance and the turbulence turn on. I didn't change anything because it works like it is. It's really good. And this is how it looks. There are small trails of debris falling down. With a proper shading, it looks quite nice. If we merge everything together, this is how it looks. You can tell I have the smoke falling down here.